Hello everyone. Our channel selects viewpoints and analytical articles from think tanks and well-known figures within the Chinese internet and presents them to Western readers so that everyone can understand how China thinks. If you find this helpful, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share our channel. Thank you. It should be emphasized that the content we present reflects only the original author's views. Our aim is merely to enhance readers' understanding of perspectives from the Chinese intellectual and policy-making circles in recent years. Many outside observers have sought to understand why China has managed to rise so rapidly and what inner driving forces make that rise possible. Analysts often cite education, governance, or industrial capacity, yet few notice a deeper element that shapes China's long-term behavior, a collective faith in the nation's destiny. This belief, shared by much of the country's elite and broader public, sustains persistence in technology, reform, and national rejuvenation, even when short-term gains are uncertain. It stems from a historical consciousness of repeated decline and renewal, a conviction that China can always return to greatness. For Western listeners, this mindset may seem unfamiliar, perhaps even unsettling, because it fuses pragmatic ambition with near spiritual confidence. But it invites reflection. Is such faith a hidden source of national resilience or a potential source of blind overreach? With that context in mind, let's now listen to the author's perspective on why China can become powerful.
Recently, an essay titled, "Why Can China Become Powerful?" has drawn wide attention. It begins by calling this a fascinating and highly complex question. No one has a complete answer, not even the smartest scholars in the world, because there is no unified theory. So what follows is one person's perspective. It is partial, it may not be perfect, but it offers a way to think about the issue. Many factors have already been discussed by others: education, a unified state, and the influence of Confucian traditions. China's development is unlikely to be decided by any single factor. It is almost certainly the result of many forces working together. Here comes a new angle, one inspired by recent discussions. There is a key factor called faith. Here, faith does not mean religious belief. It means the conviction that something will happen even without hard evidence in hand. Think of many internet-era startups, or startups with deep internet DNA. They have faith in products and technology. Before they ever run the numbers, they are sure that investing in product and R&D will pay off. So they build strong product and research teams right from the start. They do not calculate the return on investment of product and research at the beginning. Back to the main topic. Chinese people, at least a large share of the elite, hold a kind of faith. They believe that China will become a world-class power. They believe that whatever foreigners can achieve, Chinese people can achieve too. They believe Chinese people are not inferior to anyone. This faith runs so deep that many people in China feel genuine dissatisfaction with any field where China is not yet at the very top. Whenever a field is not at the leading edge, many will assume someone must have made mistakes. They look for policies or strategies that went wrong. They do not pause to ask the harder question: on what basis do we assume China must be number one in every field? The public expectation is that the country should reach world-class standards across the board. For almost any country other than China and the United States, that would sound like madness. Why is faith so important to a nation's development? Because when you take on long-cycle, complex endeavors, an unshakable belief in eventual success matters enormously. Along the way, failures are inevitable. Wrong turns are inevitable. Setbacks invite self-doubt. People start to ask, perhaps the goal is unreachable. Perhaps this is the ceiling. Without faith in the final victory, it is easy to give up after a few hits and drift with the current. It is like doing research and development. Who has ever done R&D without failing? Who has not wasted time and money? If you lack faith, a few failures can kill your budget. Then the payoff never comes. Now, reviving an entire nation is even harder than catching up in one lagging industry. Both are extremely complex and take a very long time. Precisely because of this faith, when problems appear, the instinct is not to say we really cannot do this. The instinct is to say this method does not work, so let us try another one. Chinese people, again at least much of the elite, believe with unusual intensity that China is destined to be a superpower. They believe the Chinese people are destined not to be surpassed by any other nation. So even in long eras of decline and disorder, countless people step forward to save the country. They believe reality is wrong and needs correction. They are willing to make any sacrifice for that correct state they hold in their hearts. If the political system is flawed, change the system. If the national culture falls short, reform the culture. If the religion does not fit, change the religion. If the written script does not work, change the script. For the ultimate goal, nothing is off the table. There is nothing we cannot do. If we fail for a time, it must be because our methods were wrong. When you are sure the direction is right, but the method needs work, you will push yourself to think of every possible approach. That kind of initiative and ingenuity is inexhaustible. This is very close to what Andy Grove meant by "only the paranoid survive." Because of this faith, people do not imagine that the nation could have an end point. Deep down, they assume the nation will exist forever, and that one day it will return to the top of the world. In such a country, the highest aspiration is not titles and privileges for one's family. It is to be remembered in history. If the nation exists forever, its history runs unbroken. Generations without number will keep studying that history. They will keep praising those whose names were written into it. Because one day the country will return to the summit, its history will be taken seriously and studied again and again. If a country is insignificant in human history, or only a brief flash, then being recorded in its chronicles might not matter much. China is different because of this faith. It gives top-tier elites a pursuit that rises above the lower cravings of the moment. There is a saying that a person dies twice. The first death is when the body dies. The second death is when no one remembers the person at all. To be written into history is to approach a kind of immortality. That probably goes beyond Maslow's 5 basic needs. Now a new question arises. Where does this faith come from? Why do Chinese people have it, while most other nations do not? Founders with internet backgrounds have faith in product and R&D because they have personally seen how product and research create massive competitive advantages and returns. Chinese people have faith in the nation and in themselves because Chinese history has been through so many cycles: rise and fall, reform and restoration, shifts in customs and values, political overhauls. The chronicles are full of them. China fell from the throne more than once, and more than once it climbed back up. Very few other countries have lived through a pattern like this. Regional powers in history often rise for a time, then fall, and after that they split apart and disappear from the record. Sometimes even the dominant people of that place are replaced. So yes, having ancestors who had their day more than once may indeed matter, and that in its own way explains why China can become strong.
That concludes today's narration. Through the voices of China's industrial thinkers, we've explored how policy, technology, and strategy converge in the country's push to rise through software and intelligence for clarity and flow. Some parts of the original conversation have been summarized or slightly adjusted. Certain technical or context-heavy sections have also been refined to make them easier for international audiences to follow. If you would like to read the full transcript or discuss the ideas in more depth, you are welcome to reach out to us directly. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to How China Thinks. Thank you for listening and see you next time.